It's a live edition of the wrap-up show with John Schaefer and Jim Russell. We're presented by Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. And before we get going, we're going to take your questions today. We're going to be talking about Ruben Niebla, the new Padres pitching coach. Is Ron Washington still in play? If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, Jim, point down below for us. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. You'll get all of our future videos. The reason to subscribe to this channel is exclusive year-round Padres content. We have you covered throughout this Padres managerial search. If you like our videos, give us a thumbs up. And then, of course, follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. So before we get going, let's tell you about our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz. Because if you're shopping for auto, home, renters, or life insurance here in San Diego, there's only one place to turn, and that's to a San Diegan. Mark Nimitz of Farmers Insurance. He's got over a decade of experience. He helps people like us find the perfect insurance products, no matter what it is. And what's separating Mark from the competition is his customer service and his communication. You can click the link down below. It's in the description. You'll get to Mark's website. Let him help you and your family with your insurance needs.
And if you have any questions for him, you want to reach out to him, all his information is above my head right there. Phone number, email address, mnimitz@farmersagent.com. That's mnimitz@farmersagent.com.
Jim, let's start with Ruben Niebla. Then we'll get to Ron Washington. Is he still in play? But Ruben Niebla has been named officially as the Padres' next pitching coach. So it's a significant hire, and it's a unique one as well because A.J. Preller went outside of the typical realm of hiring a manager than hiring a staff, and he hired the pitching coach before he hired the manager. Now, with that being said, we're hearing from a lot of sources, it sounds like Niebla was almost too good to pass up. So you get a guy that has local ties, that has spent the better part of 20 years with the Cleveland Indians, has received high remarks from a number of pitchers that have worked with him in the organization, including Mike Clevenger and including a former Padre in Cal Quantrill. So Ruben Niebla is in. Will this ultimately fix the Padres' pitching issues that they experienced last year?
Maybe. I don't have a clear read on Ruben Niebla. I'm kind of just going off of what other people are saying about him and the reaction to the hiring of him from other teams, especially the Cleveland Indians. And from all accounts, it seems like this guy, everybody loves. You know, like you can't find one single person to say a bad thing right now about Ruben Niebla. It's just all positive from players, from media members, from coaches. It's all positive about Ruben Niebla. So I really don't have like, this guy's going to be good or this guy will fix the Padres pitching staff. I just look at what other people are saying, and other people right now are saying this is a good hire. And the Indians, or the Guardians, excuse me, lost a really good pitching instructor, pitching coach in their organization. Now, with that being said, it's hard for me not to have just a tiny bit of a problem with just the hiring process. And maybe they already talked, or Preller already talked to all the candidates and said, look, this guy's available. How do you feel about him? We need to go out and get him now. If you end up being the manager, would you be okay with this guy as the pitching coach? And he maybe got all of the candidates that he has interviewed so far to sign off on him. And that allowed Preller, or gave the green light to Preller, to go out and get this guy. Maybe that happened. But, you know, if it didn't happen, and I'm seeing AC and Dennis talk about Preller could have more input in the coaching staff, then it's a little worrisome. Because once again, Preller's kind of not getting in the way, but injecting himself into this coaching staff when at the end of the year, he said the new manager would be able to hire his own staff and have a major input in it. And already he's hired a pitching coach without a manager yet. So there's questions there, definitely. But I would hope that for all the candidates that Preller and Seidler and the Padres have interviewed so far, at least for the past week and a half, that they ran Ruben Niebla's name by these guys to get the okay before officially hiring him. If they didn't, then yeah, I have a problem with that. But I'm hoping they did, because from all accounts, it seems like Padres got a really good guy here.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they did, to be honest. I mean, I think there's a scenario where they did. And then I also think there's a scenario like we saw the quotes from A.J. Preller yesterday saying it was too good to pass up.
Mhm.
then sometimes you need to go, outside the rule book and conventional wisdom. And if Ruben Niebla is available for the first time in 20 years or willing to move on from the Indians organization, and he's seen as a pitching whisperer, and he's had so much success with reclamation products, and he's been credited with turning careers around and getting people on right tracks, then they felt as if that was an important move to make. I mean, you think about the pitching staff from a year ago and all the problems. And if you can just get Ryan Weathers right, if
Mhm.
you can just get Mackenzie Gore right, if you can get these guys pointed in a direction where they can help you, and it's not just the young guys. Blake Snell struggled for a half a year. Yu Darvish struggled for a half a year. So there's a lot of work to be done. And, the bullpen was good, although overly used. We'll see if this strategy or the philosophy changes under Niebla in terms of how long starters can go in outings or not. There's not a one size fits all book for pitching, as we know. And I don't think there was, by the way, under Larry Rothschild or Ben Fritz, but it really sounds like Niebla's strength is working with an individual's repertoire and getting the most out of it. And that's
Mhm.
easier said than done. I mean, there's so much that goes into pitching, whether it's arm angle, whether it's velocity, whether it's pitch repertoire, command. There's just so much that goes into it that you look at what the Indians have done these last handful of years. The Indians have been a very good team in the American League, and they've been led by pitching. They've got the best team ERA in the American League since 2013. He's been there that entire time. He's worked in their system as a pitching coordinator, so he's developed guys as they've come up. He's worked in the big leagues as well as an assistant pitching coach. I like the hire. Now, does it fix all the issues with the pitching? Of course not. Does it mean the Padres win 95 games next year? Of course not. Will it be a perfect fit for the manager? We don't know the answer to it. But I can say that I like the hire, and I think it's part of a solution as the Padres look to make up 30 games of ground
Mhm.
in 1 year. And if you're going to do that, you need to make good decisions. And, I think we both agree that it seems, at least on paper and from what we're hearing and reading, to be a good decision.
Yeah, and what I like about the hire the most, while I don't really know much about Ruben Niebla, I like that he's coming from a place where they've had success with their pitchers
Hmm.
and they've had success with developing their pitchers. Because one of the biggest problems with this Padres organization, and Preller especially, is whoever he drafts as pitchers, like, he's just not getting development out of them. The organization is not good at developing prospects, pitching prospects, to become like a Shane Bieber or Cal Quantrill right now. Clevenger when he was with the Indians. So the development of younger pitchers in this organization has to be like a top priority. And it looks like it is right now for Preller, which is good, getting Niebla. Um, so that is what um, kind of excites me the most about it, is just that where he came from, they actually had a lot of success with their pitching staff. And they had success, particularly with developing guys, bringing in guys, developing them to be serviceable and really good pitchers. So, if he can do that in San Diego, like turn Ryan Weathers in around, so to say, take Mackenzie Gore, get his hands on him, uh, and make him into the top prospect that the Padres drafted, instead of a guy who can't get out of A ball or the AFL, whatever he's pitching in right now,
Right. Yeah. Is it the Arizona Fall League? Yeah.
the fall league. So
Yep. What
that's
about Mike Clevenger? I mean, coming off a second time at John.
Yeah, but I'm looking at guys that are like prospects that need help, that are projects. Like Mike Clevenger, he's got a different problem. Like, yes, Niebla could help, and he's going to help Mike Clevenger, but Clevenger's coming off an injury, and a major one.
Hmm.
Tommy John, his second Tommy John. I'm talking about guys that, like, he fixes. The whole thing here is like, fix them, like fix these guys. Make sure that the prospects that the Padres drafted don't all turn into guys that you can't pitch every fifth day, because it seems like whoever AJ Preller has drafted, they had, some moments, but eventually they're traded to other teams and they perform way better with their other teams than they did with the Padres. So that's the most exciting thing about this, is that he's coming from a place where he has developed a lot of different pitchers. They've had a lot of success with their pitching staff, and he seems like almost like a pitching whisperer, so to say. I don't know if he is or not, but it seems like everyone says that he's really great.
All right, so will Ruben be able to fix the Padres pitching issues? And again, if you're getting to this YouTube channel for the first time and you're watching us live and you're wondering why to subscribe, it's for exclusive content like this year round related to the Padres. We've been all over the managerial search. If you're new to this YouTube channel, you can check out our previous videos and see what we've been talking about really over the last handful of weeks and the last couple of months. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell as well. So Ruben Niebla is in. Could Ron Washington as a manager still be in play? Now, this has been mentioned over the last day or so. Kevin Acee wrote about it. Ron Washington, of course, the third base coach of the Atlanta Braves, and currently still, in the midst of a World Series, with that series going back to Atlanta tied at 1. So Ron Washington, who was a finalist in 2020, ultimately AJ Preller went with Jace Tingler. Nobody has anything bad to say about Ron Washington in terms of being a baseball man and what he does on field and what he's done as a manager and as a third base coach recently. So, we thought he was out. We didn't think he was going to get an interview. We heard that from multiple sources, including Kevin Acee previously. But now Kevin reporting that there's a scenario where the Padres could speak with Ron Washington about this vacancy. And you pulled it up there from the UT. So what do you think? Ron Washington, I think we were both on board over the last few weeks. He's one of the names that's very intriguing. All he does is win a couple of World Series with the Rangers, back in a World Series now as the third base coach with the Atlanta Braves. Would it be a smart decision for the Padres to give him another look?
Yes. Good. Like, I don't understand why, if they were thinking this, that Ron Washington, that they're just going to move on. I didn't understand that. And is it because they already talked to him last time and they want something different? It just didn't make sense to me how it seemed until last night that the Padres weren't looking at Ron Washington or Bruce Bochy anymore, and I just didn't understand that. Yeah, give this guy a freaking interview. Make him a top candidate. Like, he was a finalist last time. What changed? He's in the World Series right now. He's getting features every single day on Major League Baseball Network doing infield drills. Players love him. You've had Machado and other players on the Padres say that they would like Ron Washington to be their manager. Like, what's the problem here? What are we doing? Are we worried about his past? Like, everyone has a past, okay? But he's owned up to it, and I don't want to look at that as a factor. Is why you're not going to give Ron Washington at least a chance.
All right, here's my question for those that are watching live or on replay, and you can comment down below. Ron Washington or Ozzie Guillen? So Ozzie Guillen has interviewed for the Padres vacancy. Ron Washington may interview. I would lean towards Ron Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I would lean towards Ron Washington for a couple of reasons. I think he's less high risk, and I think there's a comparable reward. So Ozzie hasn't been in baseball since 2012. So if he manages in 2022, it's 10 seasons out of baseball. Ron Washington was a big league manager as recently as 2014 and has been a coach for the last handful of years with the Braves, who have been one of the best teams in baseball. So in terms of an upside, it's already there with Ron Washington. He's managed in World Series. He's coached in World Series. Now, Ozzie Guillen won in 2005. That's a long time ago. That's a really long time ago, and 10 years out. And there are risks with both. I think the risks are probably more significant with Ozzie Guillen in terms of a crash and burn scenario. Now, that's not to say it wouldn't work out. There's a scenario where it works out, but I think there's a scenario where it works out with Ron Washington as well. And if all things were being equal, and you got to make a decision like that for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years of your franchise, I just feel like it would be a little bit safer from the Padres' perspective to go with Ron Washington, and I feel like the upside would be similar.
Yes, I think the safer pick here would be Ron Washington. Ozzie Guillen, I would love Ozzie Guillen as manager for other reasons besides him, leading this team.
The post-game press conferences?
100%, man. Like, I think covering and talking about Ozzie Guillen every single day, joining those Zoom chats. I don't even know if they're going to do Zoom chats next year, but it would be must listen to and must watch television. And selfishly, that's why I would want Ozzie Guillen for a manager to lead this team. to a World Series, into the playoffs. Is Ozzie Guillen, going to do that? I mean, we talked about it the other day. Yeah, he demands respect, and he would definitely get into your ass, and he would, for sure tell you how it is and not sugarcoat anything. But maybe there's a reason why he didn't get any interviews after the 2012 season. Maybe there's a reason why he hasn't been a manager since 2012. Like, and just in baseball in general, like a coach, like Ron Washington's in baseball. He's in the World Series right now. He's a third base coach for the Atlanta Braves. Before that, he was with the A's, and then he had a couple years off there before he went back into baseball. So, I mean, I think that Ron Washington's the safe hire. Ozzie Guillen is the craziest hire, but it might be so crazy it could work.
Yeah, it could. It could, Jim. There's reasons to like Ozzie Guillen. It's not that Ozzie Guillen would be an abject failure just, the day you brought him in. I like the fact that he spent most of his career as a shortstop in the big leagues. I like the fact that his career was a really good one. He spent 15 plus years in the big leagues. I like the fact that he won immediately in the major leagues and won a World Series. I mean, that there's something to be said for that. We can't pretend like it's a completely different sport, although he was in the sport before the modern analytic era. I think we can agree with that. He had good years with the White Sox, but the last few weren't. He signed a massive deal with the Marlins that went completely sideways. I mean, that was a team that was supposed to get to a postseason. They won 69 games. So you thought the Padres year was bad, winning 79 games. The Marlins had very similar hopes in 2012. He was in year one of a 4-year deal, as outspoken as anyone. This was kind of pre-social media to a large extent, especially when you go back to 2005, even 2011, 2012. It's not the same world. He's going to be very quotable. And you don't want that to really be the story and the direction of your team day in, day out. And we'll see. I mean, maybe it's changed. 10 years is a long time. I mean, maybe he has learned from some of the transgressions of managing in Miami and at the end with the White Sox. I'm with you. I don't think it's automatically a bad idea, but I think if you had Ron Washington and he wants the job, all people talk about is how Ron Washington gets people in line and, pulling in the same direction and gets the most out of a team, and how good the clubhouse chemistry is because of him, and how affable and likable he is. Now, Ozzie Guillen has some of that too. Ozzie Guillen's an off-the-cuff guy. I don't know if Ron Washington is as much off-the-cuff as Ozzie Guillen. I don't think either are bad, or I don't know if you go wrong either way. If it was between Schilt and Rojas and Guillen and Washington, I think Guillen and Washington, for me, probably – I'd be more inclined to lean that way over Rojas and Schilt. But if I had to choose a manager right now and Ron Washington was in play and you didn't have Bruce Bochy, I'm hiring Ron Washington, and I'm doing it today.
You're right. If you told me the candidates, like the finalists, Ron, Ozzie, Schilt, Rojas, I think the perfect combination, and AC even mentioned it, Ron Washington as manager, Luis Rojas as your bench coach.
Yeah.
How can you go wrong there? Like, I feel like the fan base would like it because you have a guy that everyone respects. Everyone likes Ron Washington. You have a manager in waiting, essentially. So you don't have to worry about this in 3 to 4 years if Ron decides to get away from baseball, even though we all know Ron's a lifer. It'd be hard for him to get away from baseball unless something bad happens. But you have that Latin voice with Rojas for that clubhouse. You have a guy that demands respect with Ron Washington, a guy that's been through it, led teams to World Series, great with players and relationships. If they had, the top three, Ron Washington as your manager, Luis Rojas as your assistant manager, bench coach, and then we already have Ruben Niebla as your pitching coach.
And Ozzie Guillen's the hitting coach.
And Ozzie Guillen's the control coordinator.
I don't think Ozzie Guillen would be on a staff, although it's not that crazy to consider. It's not, since he hasn't interviewed for a job in 10 years, for him to get back in a capacity other than manager. I don't forecast it. I don't think it would be so outside the box or outside the realm of possibility if he wants to get back inside an organization to consider doing that. He's been in the media for so long. I feel like it's probably manager or bust for Ozzie Guillen at this point. And I'm with you. I think everything you said is accurate. I think if you can get Ron Washington and you can get Luis Rojas, and Ron Washington manages for 2 or 3 years, and then Rojas becomes your manager after you reach the postseason 2 or 3 times, I think there's a lot to like there. Let's get to some of these questions. Let's get to some of these questions. You can get your questions in right now if you're watching on YouTube. Again, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching live, hit the like button. We'd appreciate that. If you're on Twitter, you're flipping back and forth, follow us on Twitter at Jim Russell SD, at John Schaefer. You had my wrong handle on Twitter, at John Schaefer. Yeah, I'm not John's Schaefer. I'm John's. I don't even know what my name is.
I accidentally typed in 2 S's, and so it showed up as some John S. Schaefer.
I don't know who John S. Schaefer is, but he's probably getting all kinds of notifications right now.
Gosh.
All right, so let's get to some of these questions. What do we got coming through on our YouTube channel?
All right. Andrew said, hey, sup, bro?
Hey, what's up, man?
Let's go to Chip Rocks. Really not sure why people want Ron as our new Padres manager. All he will become is another puppet for AJ to control. I don't think he would be a puppet.
Why would Ron Washington be more of a puppet than Jayce Tingler? He'd be actually a lot less of a puppet. I mean, the problem, you could argue one of the problems with a veteran manager is they wouldn't be in line with their front office because what do they have to lose? I mean, what does Ron Washington have to lose as a 70-year-old? He could just go back to retirement. I mean, he's going to be free to voice his mind. He's not 35 where he's got his whole career in front of him and he doesn't want to rock the boat. I don't see why Ron Washington would be a puppet for AJ Preller. I think there's probably some candidates that might be. Ron Washington, in my opinion, wouldn't be one of those.
Yeah, I don't see that. The only way I would view a guy coming in as like a puppet is if he is like another Jayce Tingler, a guy that really nobody knows about, ties to AJ, friends with AJ, and I don't think they're going that route again. So hopefully they don't. Yeah. Let's check here. Robby said someone wrote they did mention the hire to the manager candidates and they liked the hire. So yes, to pre-approved Niebla. I think AC did write something along those lines, like, or maybe it was Dennis that said that Niebla was run across the candidates. And I hope that's the case.
But hold on. But they haven't interviewed Ron Washington, and there's no reason to think like Ron Washington would put the kibosh on Ruben Niebla. But if Ron Washington's in play, and I did read yesterday as well, the Padres don't know if they'll have a manager in place by the GM meetings in San Diego and Carlsbad coming up February 8th November 8th or November 9th. If there's still more candidates to be interviewed, maybe they've run it by some of the people, but have they run it by all of the candidates if they haven't yet interviewed some of these people? I mean, was Ron Washington shot a text about Ruben Niebla? But I mean, that's fair. I mean, maybe Mike Schild has been talked about Niebla and Ozzie Guillen, but maybe not everyone, because maybe there's still some interviews to be conducted.
Right. Andrew, do you guys think that the Padres will go after Corey Kluber after signing Niebla? I think Corey Kluber is a little past his prime.
I think he's a lot past his prime at this point. That wouldn't be a priority, right? You look at Kluber with the Yankees, 16 starts, 5-3, a 3.83.
But he's also injury prone.
Yeah,
ton. We've talked about this multiple times. Like, can we get guys in here that aren't injury prone, please? And can we get guys in here that have track records of completing full seasons?
Don't they have enough veteran pitchers? I mean, Clevenger, Darvish, Musgrove, Snell. Yeah, I don't know how many more. Now, again, okay, reclamation projects, 1-year flyers, guys at the back of rotations, competing for spots out of spring training. I do get that. If you can get some cheap flyers on guys that have had big league success,
deals.
Yeah, the 1-year deals that are under $10 million, which is what they're going to have to look at. Yeah, I do get that. But in terms of counting on someone like Corey Kluber in 2022 for the rotation, I think they're going to turn elsewhere before they would look there.
Right. From Rick, why does Peter Seidler want AJ Preller as the GM and president of baseball operations when in 7 seasons he has never had a winning full season? Why does he allow him to be a micro manager? I think the micromanager thing is from reports. It's like this is turning like the phrase I always say is perception turns into reality, right? And the perception now is that AJ Preller is a micromanager because of the reports that came out from the Athletic, and it's turning into like that's how people, fan base mostly, are viewing AJ Preller, is that this dude's a micromanager. I think that the unwavering commitment that Peter Seidler has into AJ Preller, it is concerning. But I do think that if this year does not go well, it will those statements and those things that he said about Preller, those will change
I
because
think I'll go further, and I think you feel this way, but in what you just said, I'll go further to what you just said. I think if this year doesn't go well and they're 79-83, I think he's gone. Nobody's
yeah.
going to say that. Nobody's ever going to say they don't have 100% confidence in the persons that work for them until they're gone. That's how this business works. I mean, you give votes of confidence until you're no longer employed.
Right.
79-83 is not going to fly. You can't be 4 years
No.
into a Machado $300 million deal, right? You just can't. Yeah, and then
This
you can't
has
have
to
3 more
be.
years of Hosmer. No, they got to win now. They don't have to win the World Series now, but they have to win now.
We thought last year was kind of like a must-win year. This year is 100% a must-win year for Preller. No questions asked. He has no wiggle room here, none whatsoever. If they do not win this year, and I'm talking about postseason, then you're right. It's got to be looked at. It has to be looked at because you cannot continue to have seasons where you waste Machado's years, where you waste Tatis. You just can't have it. It can't happen.
You could say, well, Tatis is 14 years, but you don't build the whole roster around him for all 14 of those years. You won't have the Darvishes and the Snells for 14 years.
And realistically, Tatis is going to be, like his prime is probably the first 7 or 8 years of that 14-year deal.
Yeah, you got plenty of time, but you want to win with him, and you also want to win when he's affordable. It's going to get more challenging to win when you're paying him $30 million a year and you're paying Machado $30 million a year. Those final 5 years of Machado's deal.
Exactly. Ron Washington or Ozzie Guillen. Washington's number 1 choice. Guillen number 2 choice.
I agree.
As things stand right now, I'm still firm on Washington. He's still in the game and knows the analytics. Ozzie is a close 2. I think a lot of people like Ozzie Guillen just because of his name, right?
His name and some of the things he has said before, Jim, are just outlandish. I mean, he has said some outlandish things. Some of that I think is seen as a good thing, and I think some of it is seen as a terrible thing. But the idea that it's not going to sound like Andy Green or Jace Tingler postgame, that's for sure.
Right.
That is absolutely certain. I don't know if the organization's prepared to deal with that. I don't know if the organization's prepared to, with Jace Tingler, it's always out, we're going to check with the medical staff in about 30 minutes, where Ozzie Guillen's like, oh, yeah, Clevenger broke his arm. Right. That's what you're going to get. You're going to have some off-the-cuff remarks.
And just real quick, something that kind of came up yesterday, because Kevin was on with Darren. What is the big obsession with the Padres to just keep everything quiet? I don't.
Yeah, I didn't made a great point. What was the response there? Because I didn't hear the question.
That they are keeping very tight-lipped. I'm paraphrasing here, but along the lines of they're not letting anything leak because they feel like it would be a competitive disadvantage.
Now, with other teams hiring?
Why would there be a competitive or any type of advantage from letting the media and the fan base know, more particularly, that you're interviewing this guy? Like Marty made a great point yesterday. She said, in the NFL, the Twitter handles from the teams post, hey, we just interviewed this guy today, or hey, we're interviewing this guy, or we just finished an interview with so-and-so. And the NFL is way bigger than Major League Baseball. And I would think that having a competitive advantage would be way more, you'd want to have that in the NFL over Major League Baseball. I just don't understand why.
I'm with you. I mean, it's not like there's 30 teams with openings. I mean, the New York Mets have a vacancy. The Padres have a vacancy. This is how they do their business. They're not the only organization in sports or baseball to do it that way, but they are very particular with how information gets out. I mean, we sensed it and felt it throughout the 2021 season. Roster moves always coming after press conferences. Injury updates always coming after press conferences. That they disseminate information in the manner in which they think it's best for the organization. I think it's a little hokey, and I've made that clear. I've said that on the radio. I've said that here. I don't think it's to their advantage. I think they should worry about things that are actually have to do with wins and losses. I think they didn't win one additional game this past year because of how they handled the media, how Jace Tingler was close to his vest, or whatever the term is, with who's going to start, when we're going to make the announcement on the starter, who's going to go on the IL. what roster moves are going to be made. I mean, just be more open with it. I think everyone would appreciate it.
It's just a giant eye roll for me. Like anytime that stuff happens out of the organization with keeping things quiet, competitive advantages, we're not going to tell you anything. Like, give me a break, dude. Just giant eye roll. It just makes no sense whatsoever. Like what are you hiding that's going to help you win a baseball game? Like, fix your roster first, bro.
Mm-hmm. Get back to some of these questions.
Washington, because he understands the current state of baseball and can adapt quickly. I do agree with that. Like, he's been in baseball the last handful of years. Mm-hmm. Ozzie Guillen's been behind a desk talking about the White Sox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The analytics are important. I don't know if it's going to be the end all be all. And a lot of it is delivered to you from the front office and baseball ops. And then it's how you maneuver over the course of a game with the information that you've been provided. And Ozzie Guillen won't have, he's going to have a bench staff. He's going to have a staff that can help him with that as well. Of course, Jace Tingler had the same spot, and they got themselves in some tricky spots over parts of the last 2 years as well. But I'm with you. I think Washington, the modern game has changed a lot the last 10 years, and Ozzie Guillen hasn't been part of it for the last 10 years. You don't want any learning curve. There's no learning curve right now. You got to win.
Mm-hmm. All right. From Hog, Ron or Ozzie for Prez? Looks like he wants one of those guys as the next manager.
Hogwash, what's up, man? I've seen we've seen your YouTube channel. Keep up the good work, man.
Yeah, shout out Hog.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Let's check here. I like this one. Just because, by the way, I don't know if you see this, John, but people are fighting in the chat.
Dodger I do. Fans. Yeah, there's a lot of Padres and Dodgers fans fighting, which we're all for, by the way. Not in real life, but virtually.
Keep it clean, by the way. Yeah. What rhymes with 2021 Dodgers? Eliminated.
Same amount of titles from the Dodgers and the Padres this year.
Exactly.
Really since 88 in full seasons.
Well, hasn't it been longer than 88? Because was there a stoppage in 88?
No.
Or an interruption? No?
I remember my first time watching baseball.
Oh, thanks. I wasn't even born in 1988, so I don't remember it.
You're thinking of 80. 81. 81, there was a stoppage.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you heard of Tommy Lasorda?
Who? Man, there's a lot of just
tons.
I mean, we got Dodgers equals Mickey Mouse Club.
You can put that up. Yeah, all right. Thank you, Victor. That's appreciated content.
Another one from Victor. Padres fans are low key. Dodger fans are low key Padres fans from the amount of time they invest in Padres media outlets.
It is amazing. It's like Game 5 of the NLDS against the Giants. They're like, Padres aren't even in the series, and okay. Why are you concerning yourself with the Padres?
Yeah. I definitely poked the bear. For sure.
Maybe that's because of you. Yeah, every Dodger fan hates you.
Oh, whatever. But I mean, like a lot of Dodger fans were coming at me and calling me like a cuck and just like all this other stuff that I was like, dude, what? So fine, whatever. Let's see here. Yeah, we have mostly Padres fans, and I like this one from Chad. Jim, who is Marty's number one hot guy managerial candidate? Well, you probably ask her.
What do you think? I think it's Ron Washington, right?
I don't think it's Ron Washington.
Well, she was speaking so highly of him.
Oh, no, I think she loves Ron Washington.
Right.
No doubt about it. But I think she said on air, like, Bochy's her number one.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
Yeah. Tom asked, what outfielders do you want them to go after this offseason? Well, there's one in the World Series right now that I would like.
Yeah,
cheap deal.
Absolutely. Yep.
Jock Peterson.
Yeah, there's Jock. I see there's a question coming up on Starling Marte. Mm-hmm. Again, how much are they really going to spend? The Nick Castellanos of the world, what's the budget going to be? I think it's going to be more like one-year flyers, like a Tommy Pham. Do you bring him back on a one-year deal? Is Will Myers going to be back? If he's not, that could impact things, obviously, in the outfield for the Padres. I don't feel like they got a lot of depth in the outfield. I really don't. Assuming Tatis is going to be in the infield. So, you think they could use a major league ready bat. Got CJ Abrams too, but you're trying to win. But again, you got to look at the cost effectiveness. Like they're in heavy in payroll. So, and if you're taking flyers, you're probably doing it on the pitching side as opposed to the position player side. The Castellanos of the world are commanding $100 million deals. Obviously, Peterson will get a lot less than that. Starling Marte, we'd have to see. I'd have to really look into it. because he's not young. No, he's 33. I mean, maybe there's something there with someone like Marte.
Yeah,
But they need help in the outfield. There's no question.
no question about it. What about Duvall? Is he a free agent?
I don't know if he is.
Adam Duvall?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pulling it up right now.
And that was a good pickup. I mean, the Braves, talk about a team who
they made so
had
many
some
good moves.
really good pickups.
Yep.
My dog is
they
going
did.
crazy right now.
Yeah, he is. Duvall's 33, and he signed. He's a free agent. There is a mutual option for 2022, so he's not guaranteed to be a free agent. Huge year. I mean, 3+ WAR year. Doesn't hit for average, but hits for power. Drove in 113. OPS isn't a huge number, to be honest. It's 772, 102 OPS plus. He's a good player, not a great player. He's 33. He'd be affordable. He could be an option. Yeah.
I like this one. I'm a Dodgers fan, but I tune in because you guys report good.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. We appreciate
Thanks,
that,
Daniel.
Man. Hey, we'll take it. Listen,
good.
it's like we'll take all the watchers. We'll take all the subscribers.
Yeah. Let's go here. I like this one. I like Chris Taylor on the Padres.
The Chris Taylor thing is really interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, big postseason, big years. I would think he's got a lot of value. I would think he would have a lot of options. I think he would get paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With all of that being said, I don't know what it would cost. I have no idea what it would cost to get Chris Taylor.
I don't think the Dodgers are going to want to give him up. Like, he's a guy that's a glue guy for that team. How many big hits did he have this year for them? If it wasn't for him, who knows if they could even get out of the wild card round. So I think Chris Taylor will be one of the top priorities for the Dodgers to bring him back.
What do you think he gets? Like, just throw out he's 31 years of age.
Okay.
Just the numbers don't scream at you on paper, but he's got great value.
I'm going to say 3 years with an option. I'll go like, I don't know, 35, 40, 50 million.
Okay, that's fine. I was going to say 4 years, 60. So I think we're in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
15 a year.
15 a year.
Now, maybe that's high. I maybe that's high. Maybe not. Maybe
because he's 31, I don't think the Dodgers are like, here's 5 for 100,
No, I don't think you're getting 5. I do think you're definitely getting 3, if not. You're probably getting 4. I think he's got the opportunity to get more than 3. If he wants to be back in LA, does he take a little bit of a discount to be with a winning team as opposed to just going elsewhere to take more money? I don't know what his motivations are.
All right, a couple more here.
Yep.
From Robby, would you trade Grisham if it meant freeing yourself of Haas' contract? No.
I wouldn't want to. I mean, he had a terrible year. He underperformed, but you can't.
Grisham or Haas?
Well, both, but Grisham. I mean, Grisham really underperformed. It was kind of a wasted year.
He
But
didn't do well, but there's flashes.
But they got him
there.
under control for multiple years, and like tools-wise, he's got them all, right? Hits for power, runs, fields, is one gold glove, throws. I mean, tools-wise, major league caliber player already. You feel like you have to have someone like that. You have to have the Grishams and the Cronenworths. You can't just go find another veteran piece in your outfield to replace someone like Trent Grisham. I think you have to have some controllable pieces that are arbitration guys but aren't free agents, and Trent Grisham's one of those guys that just needs to play better in 2022.
Right. If Hosmer wasn't making the money he's making, you can almost kind of deal with it a little more. It still will be extremely painful to watch, but you're also knowing this guy's not making $20+ million to hit 260 with an OPS of 700 and a slugging of 350, So with Grisham, while he did underperform last year, I think there's flashes. He's still extremely young and he's under team control and he's not making like any money. So, and he's a left-handed bat and he's a gold glove outfielder. I'm keeping that guy to try to fix him. Now, if it meant getting rid of Hosmer, like I have to think about it because you have CJ Abrams there in the wings, to play center field potentially. I'd have to think about that one. Depends on what you're getting back and really how many other options you have in the outfield.
Yeah, you're probably. I think your point's valid. It's not like an immediate no. I'd be inclined to say no. I would say what you're getting back is very young, upside, lower level prospects.
Yeah,
that's all you're getting back. That's all you're getting
exactly.
back.
All right, let's go two more here.
Yep, two more.
Kyle Schwarber. I would love Kyle Schwarber. He ain't coming here for a 1-year deal.
Right, exactly. That's going to be multiple years. I don't know if it's going to be cost effective or if they'll be able to do that or not. I do think in free agency they'll be somewhat active. I'm just not expecting the massive deal, right?
Mhm.
Nobody's expecting I'm not expecting a $100 million plus deal from the Padres this offseason heading into
No.
the CBA, either in front of it or on the other side of it.
Nor do I want them to go give a
Not a
deal
hitter.
over $100 million. Like
No one really. Yeah.
we talked about Castellanos, but that would only be where you don't have Will or Hosmer on this roster to worry about those contracts.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't feel like that's happening. They're going to probably come back next year. Kyle Schwarber going in for a 1-year, $10 million deal this year. That was a massive steal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go one more here. I would take Jorge Soler if the Braves don't re-sign him.
That could be an affordable option.
Uh-huh.
Like, he
A
hasn't
DH option too.
Yes. I mean, he doesn't hit for average, obviously, but he hits for power.
Mhm.
He doesn't get on base. You know what? I say that his batting average is 223. His on base percentage is 316, but still an on base percentage of
How many
316
home runs
isn't
did he
good.
have, and was his slugging percentage?
27. His OPS was only 749. His slugging's 432. So it wasn't some massive, massive year. Now he's only 29.
Mhm. I want a guy
So
with pop, though.
he's got pop. The one thing the Padres didn't have was pop, especially off their bench. Not a lot
Right.
of pop flexibility. It was Tatis, it was
Like a guy
Machado, and it was Cronenworth.
We saw it last night in the World Series. He led off the World Series with a home run, first time ever. This
Mhm.
guy has crazy pop. He's crazy big, crazy strong. If he hits 230, 220, okay. But if you
Right,
give
but
you
he runs into
25 to 30
35 balls.
bombs,
Yeah.
like, dude, that's a guy that I would like on a 1-year deal, and you can put him out there as the DH a couple times in the outfield. It's a guy that would be good off your bench, because right now this Padres team, their bench, as it's constructed right now at this moment, has zero pop, like no threat coming off the bench whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a problem. That needs to be
Yeah.
addressed, and it can be addressed at a reasonable cost, hopefully, in 2022. All right. If you haven't subscribed, if you're with us live, you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. The reason to do it is year-round exclusive Padres content. We're covering the managerial search, free agency, the hot stove, turning into 2022 towards spring training and the upcoming season as well. So hit that subscribe button. Make sure to like these videos as well. Follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. Jim, before we get out of here, if we could tell you again about our buddy Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance, because if you're looking for insurance, we have a San Diegan that's a huge fan of baseball and Padres baseball that can offer you assistance. If you're shopping for auto, home, renters, or life insurance here in San Diego, Mark Nimitz of Farmers Insurance is your guy. He's got a decade of experience. He helps people like us find the perfect insurance products. I just met with him a couple of days ago. He's just great with his customer service and his communication. It really separates him from the competition. And it's easy to find him. I mean, you see the information on the screen right now. You can click the link down below. It's in the description. You'll get to Mark's website. Let him help you and your family with your insurance needs.
Yeah. Information right here. Phone number and email address, mnimitz@farmersagent.com. That's mnimitz@farmersagent.com. He'll help you out with all of your insurance needs.
I thought John's Schaefer was the star of today's wrap-up show, Jim.
He was okay. Maybe he has a future in broadcasting.
Maybe in broadcasting. Maybe not radio, but maybe
no,
YouTube.
Radio's definitely out.
All right. Until next time, thanks for watching. This has been the wrap-up show presented by Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance.